Now I'd like to also bring up another verse from the Holy Quran, from Surah Fussilat, chapter 41, verse 53, where Allah Ta'ala asks us, "We will show them our signs in the universe and within themselves, until it will become quite clear to them that it is the truth. Is it not sufficient that your Lord is witness over all things?" So Allah Ta'ala says that I will show you the proofs in the universe and within your own self. So based on this verse, I decided to build on the lecture for today. So we'll talk about two things: the universe and the signs in the universe, and we'll talk about our own selves, the signs within us. The rest we will leave for our session for next week, inshallah, where we talk about animals, we'll talk about plants, we'll talk about geology, we'll talk about history, we'll talk about water, and many other things. But today we'll focus on the universe and we'll focus on our own selves. Now, before we start into that, it is also important to let you guys know that in science there are two forms. There is either established science or there is experimental or theoretical science. Established science is known facts in science. For example, gravity, laws of motion, the earth is round, so on and so forth. Experimental or theoretical science includes facts that the scientific community has reached a consensus on, but cannot possibly prove or disprove that particular theory. Example, the creation of the universe, life after death, human soul. Now there is no way that we can get a person who was present at the time of the creation of the universe to come and testify, but based on the observations that we see around us, we can come to a very wide consensus that yes, this seems to be the right approach. Or in terms of the human soul, for example, nobody has actually taken a soul out and proved it, but we can look at certain things and see that yes, it could be the likely answer. Or nobody has actually come back from the dead to tell us that he saw heaven and hell. So these are things that are mentioned in the Holy Quran, which inshallah maybe one day can be proved. Who knows? Now, the Quran contains many facts based on established science that we only came to know recently. And they were not facts at the time of the Holy Prophet. So when the Holy Prophet, I was just thinking about it, but that when the Holy Prophet used to say those verses out to the Sahaba, many of them used to wonder that, what is he saying? This is not what we believe, or this is not what concepts of education that we have right now. But nevertheless, he said them anyway. Also, it is more important for us and for mankind in general to study those facts that are mentioned in the Quran that are on the boundaries of experimental or theoretical science. Because these are those facts that we can claim and we can give a guidance to science itself. Imagine the Muslim Ummah giving guidance to the best scientists in the world, that we are giving you evidences from our own book that try this direction for a change. That in our book, these things have been mentioned, try them out and see if you can prove them false. And let's see if that works. We must know and understand this, that without the Holy Quran, science will always remain incomplete. Because as much as you can dive into science, no matter what you do, there will still be certain things which you won't be able to prove with science. Because if the Holy Quran was 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and if it was that easy to accept, then everybody, mashallah, would be Muslim. And the purpose of this life being a test would not be there. Now the first scientific fact that we'll study from the Holy Quran is the concept of the expansion of the universe. Now just to explain to you guys what is the expansion of the universe. It is one of the most extraordinary discoveries of modern science. In the 1920s, a man by the name of Edwin Hubble built the Hubble Space Telescope. And what he did was that he wanted to observe the planets, the stars, the solar systems and so on. And when he started this observation, he realized that galaxies apart from ours is the Milky Way. So he saw that galaxies apart from our galaxy were moving away from each other. Then further on, many other people verified it, that yes, in fact, we can observe and we can see that the galaxies are moving apart from each other at light speeds. And the universe is expanding. The concept of the expanding universe they gave to a loaf of bread which is being baked, which has raisins and nuts on top. And when that bread rises, the raisins you can imagine as galaxies. They are spreading away from each other. So it's expanding, the universe is expanding. Today it is a firmly established concept on which there is a consensus of the entire scientific community and the astronomical community. Now, what does Islam or the Holy Quran say about expanding universe? It has been mentioned as clear as day in Surah Ad-Dhariyat, chapter 51, verse 47. The heaven, we have built it with power. Verily, we are expanding it. Now we come to the Big Bang Theory. Now the Big Bang Theory relates pretty well with the concept of the expanding universe. The Big Bang Theory, just to give you guys a quick idea about the Big Bang Theory, the Big Bang Theory started from the observations of the expanding universe. That scientists saw that the universe was expanding, and they know that Newton's third law of motion says that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So since we are expanding, there would have been a time when we would be going back in time to a certain finite point in time where all of this matter would be just one united ball of mass. And then that ball of mass exploded, resulting in the universe expanding, planets being formed, heavenly bodies being formed, stars being formed, and all starting to form in orbits and so on and so forth. Now, in Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse 30, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Do the unbelievers not realize that the heaven and the earth used to be one solid mass that we exploded into existence? And from water we made all living things. Would they believe?" Question mark. So it is so clear in the Holy Quran. The Big Bang is a theory. Fine, the entire scientific community has a consensus on it because there are other things involved in it like cosmic radiations, there's a redshift effect, so on and so forth, which prove the Big Bang Theory as well. If you want to Google it, look it up and find out what the Big Bang Theory states. And the definition that has been mentioned in Surah Al-Anbiya fits it on the dot. If we could tell this to the scientific community, imagine the confidence that they would have in what they believe to be a theory. In Surah Al-Furqan, chapter 25, verse 6, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Say, this was revealed by the one who knows the secrets in the heaven and the earth. He is forgiving, most merciful." So Allah ta'ala says, fine, you are doing your research on these things, but these are secrets that the one who created the heavens and the earth, He knows them. Absolutely clear. And He's now telling them to you in the Holy Quran. A professor of geology, Dr. Albert Kroner, once said, "Somebody who did not know something about nuclear physics 1400 years ago could not, I think, be in a position to find out from his own mind, for instance, that the earth and the heavens had the same origin, or many others of the questions that we have discussed here." So even a non-Muslim is forced to admit that the person on whom this book was revealed, it is not humanly possible that 1400 years ago he came up with the Big Bang Theory. That is just not possible, because these things were not even close to being there at that time. Further, a professor of mathematics, Dr. Gary Miller, said, "This very information is exactly what they awarded the 1973 Nobel Prize for. The Quran reveals the origin of the universe, how it began from one place, and mankind continues to verify this revelation, even up to now. Additionally, the fact that all life originated from water would not have been an easy thing to convince people of 14 centuries ago." So like I said, that the Holy Prophet, when he would tell people that all life came from water, people must have thought that how can this be, how is this possible? But now we know as a fact that all life did originate from water, which has been mentioned in the Holy Quran, in the same verse as the Big Bang Theory. Now coming to the creation of beings, be they animals, plants, men and women, we look at the smallest creation, which is a single cell bacterium. We have many multiple cells, millions and millions of cells, so do the plants, so do the animals. But imagine a single cell bacterium. And on the creation of the single cell bacterium, I'll quote to you what one of the famous mathematicians and astronomers said. But before that, let me explain that currently, whatever they find in science, they say that it is all a big cosmological coincidence. That whatever is happening, it's by chance, it's by coincidence, and so on. A renowned British mathematician and astronomer who was knighted by the Queen, Professor Fred Hoyle, puts this impossibility like this. He says, "The chance that higher life forms might have emerged in this way, that is by chance or by coincidence, is comparable with the chance that a tornado sweeping through a junkyard might assemble a Boeing 747 from the materials therein. So he says the chance of even the smallest single cell bacterium evolving out of nothing, that the single cell bacterium can reproduce, it can grow, it can evolve, the chance that even the smallest being was created just by materials present there and it just happened to be there, it's comparable to the fact that there's a tornado sweeping through a junkyard and it assembles a Boeing 747 out of just garbage and rubbish. These are the chances.